contributors to the growth of international trade with Africa and Nigeria in particular are the lack of skilled manpower, poor access to funding, and lack of innovations that are necessary to drive international trade. Nigeria must improve the productivity of its labor and capital and embrace innovation. As a way of helping in this area, he said the German Chamber of Commerce runs a dual vocational training program that allows people to work in big companies for 3 days and go to vocational school for training for another 2 days. He said that this program would not only expose the participants to cutting-edge practical skills, but also provide them with the opportunity to work in Germany and other parts of Europe, and as much as the equivalent of 5 million naira or more in a month. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue the rest of our stories. Do stay tuned. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Tony Elumelu Foundation has signed a $6 million partnership agreement with the United Arab Emirates Office of Development Affairs and Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan Foundation, an affiliate of Earth Zayed, to provide business training, mentorship, access to networks, and non-refundable $5,000 seed capital to an additional 1,000 young African entrepreneurs. According to a statement signed by the head Marketing and Corporate Communications TEF Moyo Awotile on Wednesday, the agreement evidenced the partners' shared commitment to fostering economic empowerment and entrepreneurship across Africa. The agreement was signed at the World Government Summit by TEF founder Tony Elumelu and the Director General of the Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan Foundation, Mohammed Haji Arkuri. The Tony Elumelu Foundation is a philanthropy organization empowering young African entrepreneurs from all 54 African countries, while the Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan Foundation is focused on humanitarian and developmental projects, education, healthcare, economic empowerment, and enterprise development. According to the statement, this partnership will see the Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan Foundation leverage the Tony Elumelu Foundation's expertise and execution ability in catalyzing entrepreneurship through the Tony Elumelu Entrepreneurship Program, which has pioneered business management training, mentorship, and capital funding for African entrepreneurs. Empowering entrepreneurs is not just a moral imperative, but also a strategic investment in Africa's future. By providing the necessary access to capital, mentorship, and resources, we are unlocking the potential of Africa's entrepreneurial talent, eradicating poverty, driving self-reliance, and paving the way for inclusive growth and prosperity on the continent. This partnership between the Tony Elumelu Foundation and the Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan Foundation not only reflects our shared vision of empowering Africa's next generation of business leaders, but will also create a ripple effect of economic transformation across the continent, Elumelu stated. The Tony Elumelu Foundation is currently accepting applications from young entrepreneurs across Africa with innovative business ideas or existing businesses not older than 5 years to receive training, mentorship, access to networks, and funding. The application deadline is March 1st, 2025. Managing Director of Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company Limited, Ronald Adams, has said Nigeria can meet oil production targets and implement ambitious development programs for deep water oil and gas operations if it continues with policies to encourage investment and boost output in the sector. Adams emphasized that deep water is a compelling consideration for Nigeria if the country must meet its oil production targets and implement ambitious development programs. While speaking at the 9th Sub-Saharan Africa International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference in Lagos yesterday, Adams maintained that deep water fields are home to some of the world's most promising associated and non-associated gas reserves, with vast untapped potential that could play a vital role in powering Nigeria's future, supporting cleaner energy, and contributing to global emissions reduction. This will require a favorable investment climate to attract capital and innovation to develop these gas resources responsibly and sustainably, ensuring long-term benefits for the country in meeting its energy and global sustainability goals, he said. Adams welcomed reforms by the government to attract investments, especially the signing of 3 executive orders in February last year on tax incentives. Local content compliance requirements and reduction of petroleum sector contracting costs and timelines, recalling that tax credits were also announced for new investments in deep water oil and gas. The reforms, he noted, should be part of a renewed strategy to attract investment through fit-for-purpose, forward-looking, and competitive fiscal and regulatory policies. Oil sector losing professionals to migration, retirement. Tinubu's aide special advisor to President Bola Tinubu on energy, Oluvehejen, has expressed concerns that the Nigerian oil sector is in the dearth of skilled manpower due to either migration or retirement. Virgin stated that over the past decade, Nigeria has been faced with a severe shortage of experienced engineers, geoscientists, and project managers. Speaking at the ongoing Sub-Saharan African and International Petroleum Conference in Lagos, Virgin said these informed the presidential directive on local content. Essentially, the intention behind that directive is to ensure that capacity building by members of the Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria continues to the extent that they can compete globally with the other global service providers. Nigeria was thrown into darkness again. Yesterday, as the national electricity grid operated from Oshobo in Osun State collapsed, leaving homes and businesses in losses. The grid collapsed about 12 times last year and went down about 11:34 a.m., affecting all feeders and disrupting electricity supply to customers. Multiple utility companies operating across the 13 states confirmed the development as they started seeking alternative energy sources while apologizing to customers over the recurring issue. The companies in the public notice to customers noted that efforts to restore power were already underway in collaboration with critical stakeholders. Ikeja Electric, which serves a part of Nigeria's industrial hub, Lagos, wrote on X, "Dear esteemed customer, please be informed that we experienced a system outage today, February 12, 2025, at 11:34 hours, affecting all our feeders. Restoration of power of supply is ongoing in collaboration with our critical stakeholders. Kindly bear with us." At about 11 a.m. yesterday, major power plants including Garegu, Olorushomo, Kenji Jeba as well as Omotosho went off the electricity grid, crashing the supply on the grid to about 1,200 megawatts. Azura was also off from the grid for over 2 hours before the plant returned at about 2 p.m. The plant had gone down from 420 megawatts at 11 a.m. to 0 megawatts by noon before starting at 83 megawatts by 2 p.m. At the end of this report, the Egbin power plant in the Ikorodu area of Lagos, which was generated about 670 megawatts at 11 a.m., crashed to 0 and was yet to get back on the grid. Odupani in Calabar Cross River State also went down from its 292 megawatts at 11 a.m. to 0 megawatts. In 2024, Nigeria's 21 active generation plants on the national electricity grid recorded over 229.6 billion naira in losses due to grid collapses, a development which is worsening the liquidity crisis in the power sector. This is as stakeholders in the upstream segment of the power industry said the frequent ramping down of generation equipment was putting pressure on foreign exchange as most spare parts were falling more than projected due to the state of transmission infrastructure. Founder of United Nigeria Airline, Professor Obiora Okonkwo, says the $1 trillion target economy for Nigeria's aviation sector by President Bola Tinubu is realizable with an enabling environment to achieve the objective. Speaking at the 2025 annual retreat organized for staffers of the airline and the 4th anniversary of its maiden flight held in Abuja on Wednesday, he applauded President Tinubu for the revitalization of the aviation sector in the country. Okonkwo remarks that the foreign exchange policy introduced since the inception of the President Tinubu-led administration has positively impacted operators in the aviation sector. Okonkwo pointed at teething challenges bedeviling the aviation sector, like access to foreign exchange and the trapped fund saga with foreign operators that gave Nigeria a negative image in the Committee of Nations, which were resolved with Tinubu at the helm of affairs in the country to buttress his assertion. Okonkwo further stated that operators no longer go through the nightmare of accessing foreign exchange from the banks to offset dues and fulfill their obligations to their partners abroad. Okonkwo, who heaped praises on the aviation minister, Mr. Festus Keyamo, for putting in place measures aimed at protecting the interests of domestic operators in the country, recalled that when the airline made its maiden flight on February 12, 2021, it remained the most difficult time in the aviation history due to the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic across the world. He expressed optimism that Nigeria would get its fair share of the gross domestic product (GDP), running into trillions of naira, contributing by the industry across the world. Calling on the authorities to consider a single-window source of loans for the country's aviation industry in tandem with global best practices, he canvassed a 3% interest rates for operators as against the 30% being charged by financial institutions in the country. He said, "We have no doubt that if they continue in this direction, the aviation industry will achieve the $1 trillion economy that Mr. President is targeting. It is in the world that the aviation industry, you have to equate it like a country. It's about $17 trillion GDP all over the world. It might as well be about the 15th richest country in the world. It's huge. The Nigerian portion of the cake is still very small. It's small because the local operators in Nigeria have not been fully supported. We think that the way we are going, beyond access to finance, I still think that the government should consider a low-interest source of loans for the aviation industry. We don't need grants. We don't want the government to give us money. Aviation is one all over the world, and we are competing with other operators who have access to loans. If you have to go to the bank today, it should not be anything less than 30%. The profit is very minimal. You can't even survive with that. If this remains, it will continue to suppress our opportunity to maximize this beautiful policy of Mr. President in the aviation sector, championed by the Minister Festus Keyamo. Okonkwo, who is angling for the governorship of Anambra State on the platform of the All Progressives Congress, APC, thereby stepped aside from his role as chairman of the airline during the retreat, with emphasis on innovation, digital transformation, and leadership development. Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, AEDC, has calmed the frayed nerves of its customers in Abuja and neighboring franchise areas, assuring them of adequate power supply within the next 11 days. Speaking on its X handle, the company revealed that efforts are in top gear to ensure that the underground transmission line damaged by vandals near Millennium Park in Abuja is restored on or before February 23. The firm stressed that loan management will be implemented to optimize available supply, remain in close collaboration with TCN to ensure a swift resolution and the full restoration of power to the affected areas as repairs continue. Dear valued customers, we regret the continued power supply disruption affecting Uye, Otako, Jabi, Mabushi, Katampe districts, Life Camp, Wuse Zones 1 to 7, Wuse 2, Maitama, parts of the Central Business District and surrounding areas. This is due to the vandalization of the 132 kV Katampe Central Area underground transmission cable. The Transmission Company of Nigeria has assured us that restoration efforts are actively ongoing, with its engineers working day and night to replace and reconnect the damaged cable. TCN has committed to completing the work and restoring normal power supply to the Central Area Transmission Substation 85 on February 23, 2025, the Post read. About 188 locations franchised within the FCT operating under the AEDC have endured widespread power outages and blackouts caused by various technical faults in its fed feeders over the past 2 months. The disruptions, which significantly impacted power supply to numerous areas and businesses, occurred between January 1 and February 11, 2025. Nigeria's Anyebu calls for support for Africa during preparatory meetings for the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development as preparations for the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development, FFD4, continue to intensify. Most developing countries hold high expectations that issues of financing for the Sustainable Development Goals and their debt burden would be adequately in Seville, Spain, from 30th June to 3rd July 2025. Of UN microeconomic resolutions on investment, debt trade, financing for development, illicit financial flows, and tax reforms. He holds a first-class honors degree in BSc, Political Science and Public Administration, and is on the verge of completing his PhD studies in International Relations in the United Kingdom later this year. South Africa's $1.9 billion auto exports at risk. South Africa exports vehicles worth about 1.9 billion naira country. I don't think that South Africa has got a chance of the renewal of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, said Neil Diamond, president of the South African Chamber of Commerce in the United States. Known as AGOA, the trade deal offers preferential access to the U.S. market for many African countries. The arrangement means Washington charges no tariffs on cars imported from South Africa. That deal has bolstered the South African auto industry. Motor vehicles account for 22% of South Africa's exports to the United States, worth $1.88 billion. Behind only precious metals, BMW, Ford, Isuzu, Mercedes-Benz, Nissan, Toyota, and Volkswagen. It's half a million people, head of the Automotive Business Council, known as NAMSA. AGOA is up for renewal in September 2025 if it lapses. The consequences in South Africa, its biggest beneficiary, could be disastrous. It will be a big impact in the sense that the United States is the third biggest export market for us, and that market has grown over the years, Tom told newsmen. He estimates that 86,000 people have jobs thanks to AGOA, with another 125,000 people employed in related jobs as subcontractors or suppliers, often directly tied to auto plants. Could expect that the industry does not survive in South Africa, said Renai Mothi-Hilal, who heads the National Association of Automotive Components and Allied Manufacturers. And now onto the stock markets, foreign exchange markets, and what the exchange rate is today. Partly caught across the hot US inflation report for world markets, reining in both oil prices and capping aggravated US borrowing rates, while also lifting the euro and European shares. Long flagged by US President Donald Trump as a priority, Wednesday's news that he spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky of some future lifting of sanctions on its crude exports saw US oil prices fall back to $70 per barrel and close to the year's lows, down some 4% from Tuesday's close. Helped by data showing a surprising build in crude stocks last week that left year-on-year oil prices down almost 10%, tracking the biggest annual decline in 2.5 months. The Ukraine initiative emerged after January's biggest monthly gain in U.S. consumer prices in 17 months had catapulted U.S. Treasury yields higher and all but removed futures pricing for a second Federal Reserve interest rate cut this year. As it stands, barely one additional Fed cut is now priced for 2025 and not before October. Even though market-based U.S. inflation expectations over 2 years hit their highest since shortly after the Ukraine invasion in 2022, the oil retreat helped drag 10-year yields back down about 6 basis points from 3 weeks hit after CPI reports. They hovered about 4% on Thursday. And with producer price numbers out later today, Fed Chair Jerome Powell emphasized on Wednesday that the bad news on CPI would not be taken in isolation. Components from the PPI that feed into the Fed's favored personal consumption as expenditures inflation gauge will be watched closely. Future U.S. stock futures steadied on Thursday as investors awaited PPI data to gauge the Federal Reserve's interest rate path after the previous day's inflation shock, while the prospect of Russia-Ukraine peace talks encouraged some risk-taking. The focus will be on the January Producer Price Index report, expected at 8:30 a.m. European time, with economists polled by newsmen expecting a monthly uptick of 0.3%. A consumer price index reading on Wednesday showed the highest increase in prices in nearly a year and a half. In January, underscoring the U.S. Federal Reserve's messaging that it was in no rush to resume cutting interest rates anytime soon. While the FED is cognizant of the pattern of early year inflation strength, the prince will do little to ease policymakers' inflation anxieties, particularly given the context of accelerating labor demand, increased inflation expectations, and incoming consumption expenditures price index. And this is where we wrap it up on this episode of ATN Business on Atlantic Television Network. Before we go, first the headlines. Tinubu meets Google, wants Nigeria to lead evolution. Tax reform bills advance amid pushback on telecoms, reverts to old tariff before March or face total strike, NLC. On rising interest rates, Lai Mohammed urges MSMEs to embrace cooperative banking. And in economic empowerment, Tony Elumelu Foundation partners UAE entities. And in petroleum resources, how Nigeria can meet oil production targets, and Shell. On power sector, businesses, homes count losses as national grid collapses again. Do not forget we are open for advert placements, commercials, and you can follow us on all our ATN socials. We are open for advert placement, bookings, and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials on Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1 on Twitter, Atlantic TV Net, or you can watch us live on our website at www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. I'm Favour Chikwesri Michael. Thank you for watching.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politicians,
Is what's the plan.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the plan.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the plan.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the plan.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the plan.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the plan.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the plan.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today. Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders,